Imagine it's a Sunday afternoon. The sun's streaming through your window, you have no chores, no deadlines, and no meetings. For the first time all week, you are finally free to just sit. But you can't. Your leg starts bouncing, your eyes keep darting toward your phone. A heavy, cold knot begins to tighten in your chest. It's that familiar, nagging voice whispering in your ear. What are you doing? Everyone else is moving. Everyone else is building. You're wasting the only life you have. You're not even doing anything wrong. You're just resting. Yet your brain is treating this moment of peace like a crime scene. You feel like a runner who stopped to tie their shoe only to watch the entire world disappear over the horizon. If you recognize this feeling, you aren't lazy and you aren't failing. What you're feeling is a specific modern form of psychological distress. We live in a culture that has weaponized hustle, turning our very existence into a competitive sport. When you sit still, your brain doesn't see recovery, it sees stagnation. It feels like you're losing a race you never even agreed to run. But why is our inner dialogue so cruel during moments of stillness? Why does silence feel so loud with self-criticism? Today, we are going to dive deep into the mechanics of time anxiety and the comparison trap. We will explore why your brain punishes you for resting, and more importantly, how you can reclaim your right to simply exist. If you've been feeling like you're falling behind, keep watching. This is the conversation your nervous system has been waiting for. The primary reason you feel behind is that your brain is currently suffering from an evolutionary glitch. Human beings are wired for social comparison. For thousands of years, this was a survival mechanism. We looked at our tribe members to see if we were contributing enough to stay safe. But back then, your tribe was 50 people. You compared your fishing skills to the guy next to you. Today, your tribe is 8 billion people. When you open your phone while resting, you aren't just looking at friends. You are looking at a global leaderboard of the top 0.1%. Psychologists call this upward social comparison. When you are doing nothing, you are vulnerable. You see a 22-year-old millionaire, a fitness influencer with a perfect body, and a former classmate announcing a dream job. Your brain doesn't process that these are curated highlights. It processes them as the norm. You compare your internal messy reality, your pajamas, your unwashed dishes, your fatigue, to their polished, filtered final product. This creates a hall of mirrors effect. Everywhere you look, you see a version of life that seems better than yours. So when you sit still, you feel like you're losing ground. You're not actually falling behind in reality. You are falling behind an artificial standard that doesn't actually exist. We have been conditioned to believe a dangerous lie, that our human worth is tied directly to our economic output. This is what we call toxic productivity. In this mindset, every hour must be optimized. If you're watching a movie, you feel you should be learning a language. If you're taking a walk, you feel you should be listening to a business podcast. We have turned hobbies into side hustles and rest into laziness. But here's the science your brain is ignoring. Your brain has a default mode network, or DMN. Think of it like a computer's background maintenance system. When you stop focusing on a specific task, when you stare out the window or wash the dishes, the DMN kicks in. This is when your brain organizes memories, processes emotions, and sparks creative insights. If you never do nothing, your DMN never gets to work. By forcing yourself to be productive 24/7, you are actually making yourself less effective. The guilt you feel while resting is a symptom of a society that treats humans like machines. But even machines need downtime for maintenance. When you feel guilty for sitting still, remind yourself, rest is not a reward for work, it is a requirement for existence. But here's where it gets really interesting. The feeling of being behind isn't just about what others are doing, it's about a deep-seated fear of our own potential. We live in the era of the multiverse of potential. In the past, your life path was relatively set. Today, you are told you can be anything. While that sounds like freedom, it actually creates a psychological weight called choice overload. Every time you choose to rest, your brain creates a phantom loss. It thinks about all the other things you could be doing. I could be working on that book. I could be at the gym. I could be networking. Because there are infinite possibilities, any single choice, including the choice to rest, feels like you are failing at 1,000 other things. This leads to time anxiety. You feel like the sand in the hourglass is slipping away, and you haven't solved your life yet. This triggers your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. This is why you can't relax. Even though you are sitting on your couch, your body thinks it's being chased by a predator. That predator is the ideal version of you that you haven't become yet. You aren't behind, you are just overwhelmed by the sheer volume of choices. The you that is behind is an imaginary ghost. You cannot compete with a ghost. You can only live in the body you are in right now. So how do we break the cycle? We have to move from passive guilt to active stillness. Passive guilt is when you try to rest, but you spend the whole time thinking about work. You don't actually recover, and you don't get any work done. It's the worst of both worlds. Active stillness is a conscious decision. It's looking at your to-do list and saying, I am choosing to do nothing because my brain requires it. When you make it a choice, you take the power back from the guilt. Research shows that people who embrace nietsen, the Dutch art of doing nothing, actually report lower levels of anxiety and higher levels of creativity. It's about letting your mind wander without a destination. You need to realize that life is not a linear race. It's not a 100-meter sprint where you can see the finish line. It's a vast, open field. There is no ahead and there is no behind. There is only your current coordinates. If you feel behind, ask yourself, behind whom? If the answer is a stranger on the internet or an imaginary version of yourself, then the race isn't real. You are exactly where you need to be to begin the next chapter. If you take nothing else away from this, remember this. Your value as a human being is not a math equation. You do not have to earn the right to breathe, to eat, or to sit in silence. The world will always tell you to move faster. It will always show you someone who seems to be doing more. But the most successful people aren't the ones who never stop. They're the ones who know when to walk away from the noise. You aren't falling behind. You are simply taking a breath in a world that is hyperventilating. I want to hear from you today. When was the last time you truly felt at peace doing nothing? And what is one expectation you can let go of today to give yourself some room to breathe? Write it down in the comments. Sometimes seeing it in writing makes the burden feel lighter. If this video helped quiet the noise in your head, please subscribe to Prism Mind. We're building a community where it's okay to slow down, to think deeply, and to grow at your own pace. Thank you for being here. Now, take a deep breath. You are just doing fine.